Hello everybody, hope you're having a wonderful day so far. In the previous video, we got unique cards being selected, and that's awesome and great, and I'm very happy with that. Now, we need to actually get the game running. As you may or may not know, in 5-card draw with poker, you can select up to 3 cards and replace them. So what we're going to need to do is be able to select cards. I want to be able to click on cards and show that it's selected, and then use that to replace those cards. So let's take a look at our card file. We'll see that we've got a bunch of stuff in here. What we're going to need to add is a couple of variables. So first, we're going to need to keep track of something, whether it's selected or not. So I'm going to say this dot selected, and then by default, I'm going to say that's false. So we start off with things not being selected. What we also need to do is give each card their own outline, so that when I click on it, it can highlight that outline so that I know that I've selected it. We're actually going to do that by creating a rectangle and drawing it behind it. It is absolutely allowed to have objects within objects. So we're making these cards, and we can give them a rectangle to hang on to for us. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to say this dot highlight. I'm going to call it highlight. It's going to be a rectangle. It's a new rectangle, and I want it to actually let's for now change this to true so that we can test it out. So we're going to make a rectangle. I want this rectangle to be located pretty much right where this card is, but a little bigger. That way, when I draw this rectangle, we'll just see the outline of it behind the card, and so it'll look like it's a highlight, or it looks like it's an outline. So what I'm going to do is put it at the X for the picture, and then I'm going to move it. So right now, if I left it like this, here, let me type the rest of it, this dot W, this dot H, if we left it like this, it would put it exactly behind this, and we would only see it in those very tiny corners there. What I'd like to do is have this be slightly bigger and slightly off to the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to subtract 3 off of this, which is going to move it a little over, and then subtract 3 off of this, so it'll move it a little up, and that way we'll be able to see it on this side. But that also means for it to be able to go all the way over here, we need it to be a little bigger. So I'm going to say +6 and +6. All right, so there is our highlight. We've played around with rectangles before, but I recommend checking out the reference sheet. I'm going to add a couple things to it. I'm going to say this dot highlight. So you'll see that I'm changing the properties of highlight within this object. So this dot highlight dot show is going to be true, and this dot highlight dot show color is going to be, I'm going to make it a color that pops. Let's do yellow. All right. And so now when we actually draw that highlight, it'll be yellow and it will be showing. And what we'll do is we'll only have it show if we have this selected. You'll notice that this is a little redundant here. What I'm basically doing is having selected control whether or not this highlight is showing, even though that we already have a property for that. But this way, I don't have to type as much to get the picture to show, and also I feel like makes a little bit more intuitive sense that it be called selected in this case. All right, so let's go into our draw. And so we've got our image drawn. What I'm going to do is outside of this, we could have it inside this whole push thing if we wanted, and that might be smart, but that's not how we've got rectangle set up. Rectangle is set up to just be drawn straight up. So what I'm going to do is say if this dot selected. So if we are selected, then I want to draw the rectangle, and we're going to have it drawn behind this. So we're going to say if this dot selected, I think we just say this dot highlight dot draw. So we're setting up a draw function within our draw function. So whenever we draw this card, it will show the drawing. All right, let's try it out. And we see that we've got some nice highlights for each of these. Now, by default, we have these highlighted all the time, and that's not really what we want. We want it to only highlight when we click on it. So what I'll do is I'll change this to false. And that means by default, it's not going to be on. And then what we'll do is we'll set up something where if I click on this highlight, it will activate. All right, so let's pop into our sketch and take a look at that. What I'll do is I'll go into mouse pressed. So with rectangle, let's take a look inside rectangle. In rectangle, we have something called point collision, which checks to see if some point happens to be inside of that shape. So what we can do is have it check if when we click, if our mouse is inside of our highlight or our highlighted area. Even though we're not drawing the highlight, it is still there. So I can say something like if, we're going to say cards, we're just going to check at 0, or the 0th card. If cards dot highlight dot point collision, and then we need to put in our mouse location to get point collision to work with the mouse. So I'm going to say mouse X, mouse Y. Then we want to take cards 0 dot selected and make it true. Okay, so let's run this. Right now, it's not true. If I click on this one, nothing happens because we've only set this up for card 0. But now when I click card 0, it turns on. But now I can't unselect it. So we've either got to decide that we're going to be perfect every time and not make any mistakes, which is not going to happen, or we can make it so that we can unselect stuff again. So maybe instead of setting it to be true, we set it to be cards not whatever it was. So we'll say not card selected. So now if it's false and I click on it, it'll make it true. But if it's true and I click on it, it makes it false. Perfect. But it's not working for the other ones, so let's get that working too. In all the other ones, to get things running, we have used this for loop here, and this is no exception. So let's grab the for loop. And inside the for loop, I'm going to put my conditional statement. But if we leave it like this, it is only going to check the first one over and over again. It's going to check it 5 times. So we need to change this 0 to I, change this 0 to I, and change this 0 to I. So now it will be checking it for all of these every time we click. So if I click this, it'll activate that here, 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 and then we can also turn them off as well. Right. I think one other thing we want to keep in mind is we're probably going to need to keep track of how many cards we've actually selected, and this will be how we end this video. But we need to keep track of how many of these cards we actually have selected, because technically, to make the game work, you're not supposed to be able to click more than or have more than 3 activated. So let's keep track of that. What I'll do is I'll make a little variable here. I'll call it num selected. And we'll set it up so that this is the number of cards that have been activated. And then just throw in a little note on there, because num selected isn't super specific, so this way it's a little bit more accurate. Okay, go and set up. Oh, looks like we don't need this anymore. So let's get rid of that console log inside setup. And then replace it with this num selected equals 0. So we'll start off at 0. And then whenever we add one of these, we want to make the number go up, and whenever we take one away, we want the number to go down. So what I'll actually do in here is make another conditional statement, and I'll say if card selected is so if it's true, then we're changing it to be false, and so we want to say num selected needs to go down by 1. And if it's true, or if it's false, so if anything else happens, it's false, then we're going from false to true, which means we need to add to num selected. Alright, I'm going to reorder this, and I'm eager to see if this works. What I'm going to do here is put in, just for testing purposes, after we click, I'll have it tell me what num selected is. Console.log num selected. Alright, just for testing. Alright, running this. When I click, it says there's 0 selected. If I click this guy, there's 1, 2, 3. Then I click this, it should go down to 2, 1. Awesome. Perfect. All right, so we've got this num selected thing working. I don't need this testing thing in here anymore. What we're going to be doing in the next video is setting it up so that we can deal the cards when we want to. You'll see that by default we draw and deal the cards right at the beginning. And I don't necessarily want to do that right away. I want the person to be able to pick when they start. So we'll have it start off with maybe all the same card getting drawn so that everyone knows it's not the actual deck, and then we'll hit the draw button and it will draw all the cards. I probably should stop using the word draw because we've got draw here and it means something different. Maybe we'll say deal cards, but that is for the next video.